Hi, I'm Matt, and it's fall, fall, fall. So what does fall mean? It's time for pumpkin. So I'm going to make these delicious pumpkin chocolate chip walnut cookies. I can't wait to get started. Make sure when we're using your pumpkin that you dry the pumpkin out as much as you can. Either do it through a strainer, or what I've done was I placed the pumpkin in my little dish, measured it out, put some paper towels on it, and look at all the moisture that is coming out of the puree. You don't want that in the recipe because that will impact the texture of your cookie. I first want to get my dry ingredients assembled. So I'm going to take in a large-ish bowl, put that on the scale along with my sifter. I'm going to zero that out. 2 cups or 240 grams of flour. You'll need a 1/4 teaspoon baking soda. In you go. You'll need a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. I'm using fine salt, so I'm using just a little less. A 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder. 2 teaspoons of cinnamon, one of my favorite spices. A 1/2 teaspoon of allspice. A 1/4 teaspoon of ginger. A 1/4 teaspoon of cardamom. Now that I have all of my ingredients in my sifter, I'm going to I no longer need this is called a scale, not a sifter. Put my scale away and sift away. God, it smells so good. Now what I want to do is make sure that all of my dry ingredients are well incorporated. So I'm going to whisk that away, whisk, 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 and just fully incorporate everything evenly throughout my dry ingredient mixture. Now that that's done, put that off to the side, and I'm going to get started with my wet ingredients. I've put 2/3 of a cup of melted butter in a bowl. I'm going to add 2/3 of a cup of brown sugar and 1/2 cup of granulated sugar, white granulated sugar. And I'm going to mix that together nice and well. To this, I'm going to add my 1/3 of a cup of strained pumpkin. Now you see how much moisture was in that pumpkin that I had pulled? That's a lot. Well, you don't want that in your cookie. So I have my 1/3 of a cup of pumpkin puree. To that, I'm also going to add a teaspoon of vanilla. There you go. I'm always very generous with that vanilla. Mix that up very well. Mix that up, mix, 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 until you get all of the pumpkin well incorporated into your wet ingredient mixture. From here, we're just going to dump the dry ingredients in and mix that until it's well combined. You don't want to overmix this because you don't want a tough cookie. Did I mention before you start, you get your oven set to 350 degrees Fahrenheit? So the walnuts are an optional thing for your cookies. I happen to really like them, and I think that whenever you have walnuts in any kind of recipe, it really helps accentuate the fall season. So I'm taking about a 1/2 cup to 2/3 of a cup, maybe a cup, of walnuts, and I'm chopping them up, not too fine, but because I'd like to actually have some texture in my cookie. So I'm going to set my walnuts aside, bring back my combined mixture. I'm going to add, I'm going to take a few of these chocolate chips, and I'm going to hold them off to the side. You'll see why in a second. I'm going to add about a cup of chocolate chips to my pumpkin mixture, also my nuts, put that all in at the same time. Mixing this until it's combined, and then we'll get ready to place them on the cookie sheets for the oven. All of my ingredients are well combined. Next thing I'm going to do is take a scoop and scoop a portion, put it into my hand, roll it into a ball, place it on this cookie mat, and then they're going into the oven 350 degrees. So I've got all of my cookies rolled out and placed on the mat. I'm taking these extra chocolate chips that I had, and I'm going to be placing them on anyone that doesn't look like they have a chocolate chip showing. I'm going to help them out a little. So these are done. All I have to do now is get them in the oven, 350 degrees, and cooking for about 11-12 minutes. These cookies came out perfectly. There's just a nice balance of the pumpkin and the spices and the chocolate chips and the walnuts. It just really tastes like fall on every bite. I hope you get a chance to make this recipe for yourself. And also, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and a like, and check out more of my baking playlist. I'll see you next time.